The hospital ship Mercy's Hand floated in the darkness of space like a bright star. Its white hull was covered with red crosses visible from thousands of miles away. Inside, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge watching the war happening on the planet below. The Kraith Empire and the Vex Collective had been fighting for 3 months. Thousands were dying every day, but that was not Sarah's problem. Her job was simple: save everyone she could. No matter which side they were on, Captain, "We're receiving another request for medical teams," said Lieutenant Park. "The Kraith have wounded soldiers on the ground. They need help," Sarah nodded. "Send Team 7. Make sure they display the medical flags clearly." For 50 years, Earth had been part of the Galactic Coalition. 47 different alien species worked together to keep peace in the galaxy. They had rules for everything, even war. The most important rule was simple: never attack medical personnel. For 300 years, every species had followed this rule. Medical ships were safe. Doctors and nurses could move freely through war zones. Everyone respected the healers. Humans had become famous for their medical skills. Human doctors could save almost any alien species. They understood biology in ways other species did not. When war broke out anywhere in the galaxy, human medical teams arrived to help. They wore white uniforms with red crosses. They saved lives and asked nothing in return. Sarah had been doing this job for 15 years. She had seen horrible things. She had watched thousands die. But she had also saved tens of thousands. That was why she kept coming back. Team 7 is on the ground, Park reported. They're setting up the medical station now. Sarah looked at the main screen. On the planet's surface, her medical teams were working in a temporary hospital. Kraith soldiers lay on beds next to Vex soldiers. The humans treated them all the same. Pain was pain. Blood was blood. It did not matter who was bleeding. "Captain." Park's voice was suddenly urgent. "I'm detecting weapons lock. Multiple Kraith warships are targeting our position." Sarah felt her heart stop. "That's impossible. We're a medical vessel. They can see our markings." "I'm hailing them now," Park said. His fingers moved quickly across his console. No response. "Captain, they're not backing down. Their weapons are hot." Sarah grabbed the communications panel. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth medical ship Mercy's Hand. We are a neutral medical vessel operating under Coalition law. You are targeting a protected ship. Power down your weapons immediately." Silence. Then a Kraith voice came through, cold and harsh. "We see you, humans. You heal our enemies. You make them strong enough to fight us again. We are losing this war, but we will not lose alone." "You can't do this," Sarah said, her voice shaking. 300 years of law. Your laws mean nothing. Fire." The first missile hit the Mercy's Hand on the port side. The explosion threw Sarah across the bridge. Alarm screamed. The lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. "All hands, abandon ship," Sarah shouted into the shipwide comm. "This is not a drill. Get to the escape pods now." Another explosion rocked the ship. Sarah pulled herself up, blood running down her face. Around her, her crew was scrambling for the exits. She could hear screaming through the walls. "Lieutenant Park, send a distress signal. Tell the Coalition what's happening." Park was already working on it. "Signal sent, Captain. But the Kraith are jamming most frequencies. I don't know if anyone will hear us in time." A third explosion hit. This time, Sarah heard the terrible sound of the hull breaking apart. Air began rushing out of the ship. The temperature dropped instantly. "Go!" Sarah pushed Park toward the escape pods. "Everyone out, now!" She stayed on the bridge, making sure her crew escaped. Through the main viewport, she could see more Kraith ships approaching. They were firing on the escape pods. The small pods exploded one by one like fireworks in the night. They were killing everyone. The Kraith were murdering medical personnel. It had never happened before. Not in 300 years. Not once. Sarah felt a strange calm settle over her. She activated her personal recorder. If she was going to die, someone needed to know what happened here. "This is Captain Sarah Chen, Earth Medical Corps. The Kraith Empire has attacked the Mercy's Hand in violation of all Coalition laws. They are targeting escape pods. They are killing medical staff. If anyone finds this recording, tell Earth what happened here. Tell them." The final explosion cut her off. The Mercy's Hand broke into 3 pieces. 847 medical personnel died in space that day. But Sarah Chen was not one of them. By luck or miracle, her section of the bridge stayed intact long enough for a rescue ship to find her. 3 days later, Sarah woke up in a hospital on Earth. Her body was covered in bandages. Every part of her hurt, but she was alive. Admiral James Miller stood beside her bed. He was old with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been in Earth's military for 40 years, Captain Chen. He said softly, "I'm glad you survived." Sarah tried to sit up. Pain shot through her ribs. "My crew? 17 survivors total. Everyone else is gone." Sarah closed her eyes. 830 dead. All of them healers. All of them protected by law. All of them murdered. The coalition? She asked. They've condemned the attack. Strong words. Lots of meetings. But no action yet. They're still debating what to do. Sarah felt anger burn in her chest. Debating? The Kraith butchered our people. I know. Miller's voice was hard. Earth knows. That's why I'm here. He pulled a chair close to her bed and sat down. Sarah, I need to tell you about something. Something we've kept secret since we joined the coalition. What secret? When Earth joined the coalition 50 years ago, we agreed to their rules. No aggressive warfare. No banned weapons. No certain types of soldiers. Miller paused. We agreed to all of it. But we didn't destroy everything. We hid it. We locked it away. Sarah stared at him. What are you saying? I'm saying Earth has monsters, Sarah. We created them during our own wars. Soldiers so dangerous, so effective, so terrifying, that we couldn't let them fight anymore. People who broke every rule of warfare and won anyway. After Earth's last world war, we captured them. We froze them. We built a prison deep under the ice and we put them away forever. Why are you telling me this? Miller leaned forward. His eyes were cold and angry. Because Earth's government just voted. We're waking them up. All of them. And we're sending them after the Kraith. Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with her injuries. That's insane. If we use banned weapons, we'll be expelled from the coalition. We don't care anymore. Miller stood up. The Kraith taught us something important. They taught us that rules only matter if everyone follows them. They broke the oldest, most sacred rule in the galaxy, so we're going to break ours. He walked to the door, then stopped. You're being promoted to Admiral. When you're healed, you'll be the liaison between Earth's military and the war offenders. The what? That's what we call them. The soldiers we locked away. The ones who were too dangerous for peacetime. Get some rest, Admiral Chen. In 2 weeks, you're going to meet the most frightening humans who ever lived. Miller left. Sarah lay in her bed staring at the ceiling. Somewhere beneath the ice, monsters were waking up, and Earth was about to show the galaxy what humans could really do when someone broke the rules. 2 weeks later, Sarah Chen stood at the entrance to the most secret place on Earth. She had flown to Antarctica in a black aircraft with no markings. The pilot had not spoken to her. They had landed on ice, and then Sarah had been taken underground. The elevator went down for 5 full minutes. Sarah counted the seconds. When the doors finally opened, she stepped into a hallway carved from solid rock. The walls were smooth and cold. Armed guards stood every 20 feet. They all stared straight ahead, faces blank. A man in a white coat waited for her. He was thin and tall, with glasses that made his eyes look too large. Admiral Chen, I'm Dr. Marcus Webb. Welcome to the vault. The vault? Sarah followed him down the hallway. That's what we call this place. It's where we keep Earth's greatest shame. Webb walked quickly, his shoes clicking on the stone floor. Tell me, Admiral, what do you know about Earth's Third World War? Sarah thought back to her history classes. It was the last global war. 70 years ago. 30 million dead. Chemical weapons. Nuclear exchanges. Genetic experiments. It almost destroyed humanity, correct. But do you know how it ended? A peace treaty. The major powers agreed to stop fighting. Webb laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's the official story. The truth is different. The war ended because a small group of soldiers and scientists created weapons so terrible that both sides became afraid. Not weapons made of metal and explosives. Weapons made of flesh and blood. They reached a large metal door. Webb placed his hand on a scanner. The door opened with a hiss of cold air. Inside was a vast room filled with rows of glass cylinders. Each cylinder was 10 feet tall and filled with blue liquid. Inside each one, Sarah could see a human body, frozen and still. What is this? Sarah whispered. This is where we keep the war offenders, Webb said. 517 individuals who were too dangerous to execute and too dangerous to set free. Some are soldiers, some are hackers, some are scientists. All of them broke the laws of warfare, and all of them were incredibly effective. Sarah walked between the rows of cylinders. She stopped at one and looked at the woman inside. She appeared young, maybe 30 years old. Her body was covered in scars. Tattoos ran down both arms. Who is she? Webb checked a tablet. Colonel Rebecca Stone, codename Reaper. Last commander of the Titan program. Genetically enhanced. Increased strength, faster reflexes, improved healing. She personally killed over 3,000 enemy combatants. She also trained a unit that destabilized 2 nations without firing a single shot. How? Psychological warfare. Her team infiltrated enemy countries, spread carefully designed information, turned populations against their own governments. 3 governments fell because of her work. Millions died in the civil wars that followed. Sarah felt sick. And you want to wake her up? Earth's government wants to wake all of them up. Webb moved to another cylinder. This is Major Chen Liu. No relation to you, I hope. He was a cyber warfare expert. During the war, he shut down an entire nation's electrical grid. 50 million people without power in the middle of winter. 100,000 died. He did it from a laptop in a hotel room. They walked past more cylinders. Each one held a different nightmare. Captain James Porter, chemical weapons specialist, created a nerve agent that only affected people with certain genetic markers. Targeted ethnic cleansing. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, psychological operations. She convinced an enemy general to launch a nuclear weapon at his own capital city. Dr. David Chen. Yes, another Chen. He created a virus designed to target specific populations. We caught him before he could deploy it. Sarah wanted to leave. She wanted to run from this place and never come back. But she was an admiral now. She had a job to do. Why didn't we just execute them? She asked. Webb stopped walking. Some people wanted to. But others argued that these individuals represented knowledge we might need someday. They knew how to fight wars in ways that others couldn't imagine. So we made a compromise. We froze them, locked them away, built this facility in the middle of nowhere and tried to forget they existed. Until now. Until now. Webb led her to a control room overlooking the cylinders. Technicians were working at dozens of screens. The first thaw begins in 1 hour. We're waking 20 individuals today, another 20 tomorrow. Within a week, all 500 will be awake. Sarah sat down heavily in a chair. What are we supposed to do with them? You're supposed to aim them at the Kraith Empire and let them do what they do best. That's insane. These people are war criminals. Yes, Webb agreed. But so are the Kraith who killed your crew. The difference is our war criminals are about to become very useful. An alarm sounded. The technicians began working faster. Sarah watched as blue liquid drained from one of the cylinders. The woman inside, Colonel Stone, the Reaper, slowly descended to the floor of the cylinder. The glass door hissed open. Stone stepped out. She was naked and dripping with blue fluid. She did not seem to care. Her eyes scanned the room, taking in everything in seconds. When her gaze landed on Sarah, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Those eyes were cold and empty. A technician brought Stone a robe. She put it on slowly, still looking around. Where am I? Stone's voice was rough from disuse. You're in the vault, Webb said. You've been frozen for 47 years. Stone looked at him. Why am I awake? Because Earth needs you, Stone laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. Earth locked me in a freezer. Earth said I was too dangerous, too violent, too willing to do whatever it took to win. She walked closer to Webb. Now Earth needs me? What changed? Sarah stood up. Someone killed our healers. Stone turned to look at her. Explain. Sarah told her about the Mercy's Hand, about the Kraith attack, about the 830 medical personnel who died in space. As she spoke, something changed in Stone's expression. The emptiness in her eyes was replaced by something else, something that looked like anger. They killed healers, Stone said quietly. Medical personnel, non-combatants. Yes. And the galactic government? What did they do? They're talking about it. Having meetings. Discussing options, Stone smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Politicians. They never change, even in space. She looked back at Webb. You want me to hurt the people who did this? We want you to end them, Webb said. The Kraith Empire must pay for what they did. Earth's government has authorized unlimited force. No rules, no restrictions. Make them regret attacking our healers. Stone was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. I'll need my team. Wake them first. I'll also need access to intelligence about the Kraith. Military strength, fleet positions, political structure, everything. And I'll need weapons. Lots of weapons. You'll have everything you need, Sarah said. But I'm coming with you. I'm the liaison between you and Earth's military command. Stone studied her. You're a healer. I can see it in the way you stand. The way you look at me, you save lives. I take them. We're not going to get along, Admiral. I don't need to like you, Colonel. I just need to make sure you do your job. My job is killing. I'm very good at it. Are you sure you want to watch? Sarah thought about her crew. She thought about Lieutenant Park, who had stayed at his station to send the distress signal. She thought about Dr. Martinez, who had been treating a Kraith soldier when the first missile hit. She thought about all of them floating dead in space. Yes, Sarah said. I'm sure. Stone nodded slowly. Good. Then let's talk about how we're going to destroy the Kraith Empire. Over the next 6 days, the vault came alive. One by one, the war offenders woke up. They were given food, clothes, and briefings about the 50 years they had missed. Most of them adjusted quickly. These were people who had thrived in chaos. A changed world was just another mission. Sarah watched them train. They moved like predators, fast and efficient. They spoke in short, clipped sentences. They studied intelligence reports for hours without rest. They scared her. But what scared her most was how happy they seemed. For the first time in decades, they had a purpose. They had a target. They had permission to do what they did best. On the 7th day, the war offenders boarded unmarked black ships and left Earth. 500 of humanity's most dangerous individuals were now heading toward Kraith space. Sarah went with them. Someone had to witness what came next. Someone had to remember. As her ship left orbit, she looked back at Earth one last time. I hope we're doing the right thing, she said. Colonel Stone stood beside her. We're not doing the right thing, Admiral. We're doing the necessary thing. There's a difference. The ship jumped to faster than light speed. The war had begun. The war offenders did not attack immediately. This surprised Sarah. She had expected violence and destruction. Instead, they spent 3 days studying their enemy. Colonel Stone gathered her commanders in a conference room on the flagship. Sarah sat in the corner watching and listening. Maps of Kraith space covered the walls. Intelligence reports filled dozens of screens. The Kraith have a military force of approximately 2 million soldiers, said Major Liu, the cyber warfare expert. His fingers danced across a keyboard as he spoke. They have a fleet of 600 warships. Their homeworld has a population of 4 billion. They're reptilian, cold-blooded, with a strict honor-based culture. Honor, Stone repeated. She laughed. They killed unarmed healers and they talk about honor. Their government is an empire, Liu continued. One emperor, a military council of 12 generals, and a civilian government that has no real power. To hurt the Kraith, we need to hurt their military. No, Stone said. To hurt the Kraith, we need to hurt their pride. She stood and walked to the largest map. The Kraith attacked our healers because they were losing a war. They thought if they committed an atrocity, they could force negotiations. They thought the galaxy would pressure the Vex to make peace. They thought wrong. Stone pointed to several locations on the map. We're not going to fight them like a normal military. We're going to fight them like ghosts. We're going to make them afraid. We're going to make them question everything. And when they're broken and terrified, we're going to give them a choice, surrender or die. How do we start? Asked Captain Porter, the chemical weapons specialist. We start by showing them they're not safe anywhere. Stone turned to Major Liu. How long to infiltrate their entire network? Liu smiled. I'm already in. Have been for 2 days. Sarah stood up. What? How? Kraith military security is good by their standards, Liu said. But they've never faced human hackers. I've got access to everything. Communications, fleet positions, supply lines, even personal messages from the Emperor to his generals. Then we know where every Kraith ship is, Stone said. Every single one. Stone's smile was cold and sharp. Good, here's what we're going to do. The first attack happened 3 days later. A Kraith supply convoy was traveling through deep space, bringing food and ammunition to the front lines. 20 ships, all heavily loaded, all protected by military escorts. The convoy never arrived. When a Kraith search party found the ships a week later, they were floating dead in space. The crews were gone. Not dead, gone. The ships were intact. The cargo was untouched, but every single Kraith soldier had vanished. The Kraith military tried to keep it quiet. but Major Lu made sure the story spread. Within days, every Kraith citizen knew about the ghost convoy. The second attack was worse. A Kraith military base on a remote moon reported that their water supply had been contaminated. 3,000 soldiers became violently ill. None of them died, but all of them were sick for days. Medical teams found traces of a chemical in the water, a chemical that only affected Kraith biology. The message was clear. Humans could poison them whenever they wanted. Humans could reach them anywhere. The third attack broke Kraith morale. The Emperor's personal flagship was traveling from the homeworld to the front lines. It was the most secure ship in the fleet, surrounded by 50 escort vessels with the best crew and the most advanced defenses. The flagship arrived at its destination on time. But when the Emperor's guards opened his quarters, they found a human data pad sitting on his desk. The Emperor had never left his rooms. The guards had been outside the entire time. Somehow a human had gotten past all their security, walked into the Emperor's personal quarters, left a device, and walked back out. The device played a simple message. It was Colonel Stone's face on the screen. "Hello, Emperor. This could have been a bomb." "It wasn't. We don't kill leaders in their sleep." "But we could have. Remember that. You're not safe. None of you are safe. Surrender now, while you still can." The Emperor threw the device across the room and ordered his generals to find the humans. But how do you find an enemy who can go anywhere, do anything, and leave no trace? Sarah watched all of this from the War Offender's flagship. She felt sick. This was not war as she understood it. This was terrorism. This was psychological torture. "You're not fighting," she said to Stone one evening. "You're just scaring them." "Fear is a weapon," Stone replied. "The most effective weapon. A scared enemy makes mistakes. A terrified enemy surrenders without fighting. But this isn't honorable." Stone looked at her with those cold, empty eyes. "The Kraith killed your medical crews. They murdered unarmed healers. You want to talk to me about honor?" Sarah had no answer to that. The attacks continued. Kraith military installations lost power at random times. Food supplies spoiled overnight. Communication systems failed during critical moments. Kraith soldiers began reporting seeing humans where no humans should be. In secure facilities, on military bases, even on the homeworld itself. Most of these reports were false. The soldiers were imagining things because they were afraid. But some reports were true. The war offenders had infiltrated Kraith territory so completely that they could strike anywhere, anytime. Major Lu expanded his cyber attacks. He didn't just steal information, he changed it. False orders went out to Kraith fleets. Ships were sent to the wrong locations. Supplies were rerouted to empty space. The entire Kraith military network became unreliable. "They don't know what's real anymore," Lu explained to Sarah. "Every order could be fake. Every message could be from us. Their own commanders don't trust their own systems." Then came the attack that broke the Kraith's will to fight. The Kraith military kept extensive records of their soldiers' families. Names, addresses, everything. It was part of their honor system. Soldiers fought harder when they knew their families were watching and proud. Major Lu found these records, and he used them. Every Kraith military family received a message. The message showed footage from the attack on the Mercy's Hand. It showed the hospital ship exploding. It showed escape pods being destroyed. It showed human medical personnel dying in space. But the message also showed something else. It showed Earth's own history. Images of human wars. Footage of cities burning. Videos of weapons that could destroy entire planets. And a simple text message. "Your military killed our healers." These were people who saved Kraith lives. They healed your wounded, and your leaders murdered them. Now you will learn what human soldiers can do. We have the names and addresses of every military family in the Empire. We know where you live. We know where your children go to school. We know everything about you. But we are not like your military. We do not kill families. We do not harm children. Instead, we are giving you this warning. Tell your soldiers to come home. Tell them to surrender. Or we will come to your homes and we will take them. We will arrest every military family member and hold them until this war ends. Your choice. You have 3 days. The message caused panic across the Kraith Empire. Millions of families fled their homes. The military tried to protect them, but there were too many. Kraith soldiers began receiving calls from their terrified families. Some soldiers deserted to go protect their loved ones. The Kraith military was falling apart, and the war offenders had barely fired a shot. Sarah confronted Stone after the message was sent. "You're threatening families, children. We're not threatening anyone, Stone said calmly. We're explaining options. The Kraith can surrender, or we'll arrest military families and hold them safely until the war ends. We won't hurt them. We won't torture them. We'll just keep them away from the fighting. That's still a war crime. Is it? Stone tilted her head. We're offering to keep non-combatants safe. That's more than the Kraith did for your medical crews. Sarah wanted to argue, but she couldn't find the words. Everything the war offenders were doing was technically legal. They weren't killing civilians. They weren't destroying cities. They were just using fear and information as weapons, but it felt wrong. You don't like me, Stone said. I understand. I don't like me either. But here's the truth, Admiral. My team has been fighting for 23 days. We've destroyed the Kraith military's ability to function. We've done this without killing a single Kraith civilian. How many civilians died when the Kraith attacked your hospital ship? How many would die if we fought a conventional war? Sarah thought about it. A conventional war would involve fleet battles, planetary invasions, orbital bombardments. Millions could die. None of this would be necessary if the Kraith just surrendered, Stone continued. But their emperor is too proud. So we have to break that pride. We have to make surrender the only logical option. 3 days after the message was sent, the Kraith emperor made an announcement. He challenged Earth to single combat. Ancient Kraith tradition said that wars could be settled by a duel between champions. If Earth won, the Kraith would surrender. If the Kraith won, humans would leave their territory forever. Sarah thought the Emperor was desperate. Stone thought he was stupid. He thinks he can win because Kraith are bigger and stronger than humans, Stone said. He doesn't understand what we are. What do you mean? Stone smiled. I'm going to fight him, Admiral. And I'm going to show the entire galaxy what a human can do. The duel was set to take place on a neutral moon. Representatives from every species in the Galactic Coalition would watch. Billions more would see it through live broadcasts across the galaxy. Sarah stood in Colonel Stone's quarters the night before the fight. Stone was checking her equipment, moving with calm efficiency. She wore simple black clothes, no armor. No visible weapons. You're going to fight him in that? Sarah asked. I don't need armor. Stone continued her preparations. The Emperor is 9 feet tall. He weighs 600 pounds. His scales are harder than steel. He's been training in combat since he was 5 years old. By every physical measure, he should kill me easily. Then why are you smiling? Stone looked up. Because he thinks this is about strength. It's not. This is about understanding how to break an opponent, and I'm very good at that. The next morning, they traveled to the neutral moon. The arena was a simple circle 200 feet across, marked out on bare rock. Thousands of aliens sat in stands around the circle. Every major news network in the galaxy had cameras pointed at the arena. Sarah sat with the other Earth representatives. She felt sick. She had seen Stone train. The colonel was fast and skilled. But she was still human. She could still die. The Kraith Emperor entered the arena from one side. He was massive, covered in dark green scales that gleamed in the sunlight. His arms were thick with muscle. His hands ended in claws that could tear through metal. He wore traditional Kraith armor, ceremonial but functional. He carried no weapons. According to tradition, the duel would be hand-to-hand combat only. Colonel Stone entered from the other side. She looked tiny in comparison, a small human woman facing a reptilian giant. The crowd went quiet. A neutral arbiter, an alien from a species known for fairness, stepped into the center of the arena. The challenge has been issued and accepted. The rules are simple. Fight until one combatant surrenders or dies. No weapons, no outside interference. May the worthy win. The arbiter left the arena. Stone and the Emperor began circling each other. The Emperor spoke first, his voice booming across the arena. You are small, human. This will be quick, Stone didn't reply. She just kept moving, watching him carefully. The Emperor charged. He was incredibly fast for something so large. His clawed hand swept toward Stone's head. If it connected, it would take her head off. Stone wasn't there. She ducked under the strike, moved inside the Emperor's reach, and hit him twice in the ribs. Then she was gone, dancing back out of range. The Emperor looked confused. He had felt the hits, but they hadn't hurt. Human strength was nothing compared to Kraith durability. He charged again. Again Stone dodged. She hit him 3 more times, throat, knee, temple. Light, fast strikes that seemed to do nothing. The Emperor smiled. Is that all you can do? Run and tap me with your weak hands? Stone finally spoke. I'm not trying to hurt you yet. I'm learning how you move. The Emperor roared and attacked with both hands. Stone slipped between his arms, hit him 5 times in quick succession, and rolled away. This pattern continued for 2 minutes. The Emperor attacked with growing frustration. Stone dodged every strike and landed dozens of her own hits. None of them seemed to do any damage. The crowd began to murmur. Was the human just playing with the Emperor? Or was she losing and too proud to surrender? Then something changed. The Emperor threw a punch and Stone didn't dodge. She caught his arm, twisted her body, and used his own momentum against him. The massive Kraith flipped through the air and crashed onto his back. The crowd gasped. The Emperor quickly got to his feet, but now he looked worried. Stone attacked. She was no longer defensive. She moved like water, flowing around the Emperor's strikes, hitting him with surgical precision. Every strike targeted a specific point: joints, nerve clusters, pressure points. She was still not strong enough to break his scales, but she didn't need to. She was hitting places where even scales couldn't protect him. The Emperor began to slow down. His movements became sluggish. Stone had been hitting nerve clusters, temporarily disrupting the signals between his brain and his muscles. His right arm hung uselessly at his side. His left leg dragged behind him. "What are you doing to me?" The Emperor gasped. "Winning." Stone kicked his left knee. The Emperor fell. She was on him instantly, moving behind him, wrapping her arms around his thick neck in a chokehold. The Emperor tried to pull her off, but his arms weren't responding correctly. He tried to stand, but his legs wouldn't support him. He roared in anger and fear, but Stone just held on, applying steady pressure to his throat. 47 seconds later, the Emperor went limp. Stone held on for 5 more seconds to make sure he was truly unconscious, then let him fall to the ground. She stood up, breathing hard but steady. The arena was completely silent. The Emperor's guards rushed into the arena, but Stone didn't move. She stood over the unconscious Emperor, waiting. One of the guards checked the Emperor's breathing. "He lives. He is defeated." According to Kraith tradition, the duel was over. Earth had won. The Emperor woke a few minutes later. He looked up at Stone with confusion and something that might have been respect. "How?" he asked. "You're so small." Stone helped him sit up. "Size and strength don't always win. Intelligence and skill win. You never had a chance, Emperor. I've been training to fight since I was a child. I was genetically enhanced to be a better soldier. I've killed more opponents than you've probably met in your life. You thought this was about power. It was about knowledge." She stood and addressed the crowd. "The Kraith Empire attacked Earth's medical personnel. They murdered 830 healers in violation of every law. Earth could have responded with overwhelming force. We could have destroyed Kraith worlds. We could have killed billions. Instead, we sent 500 soldiers. We broke their military without destroying their cities. We terrified their leaders without harming their people. And now I've defeated their Emperor in fair combat." Stone turned to the Emperor. "Your empire is defeated. You will surrender. You will face justice for the war crime you committed. But Earth will not destroy you. We will not conquer your worlds. We will not enslave your people. We believe in justice, not revenge." The Emperor looked at her for a long moment. Then he stood with difficulty and bowed his head. "The Kraith Empire surrenders to Earth." The crowd erupted. Some species cheered. Others looked shocked. The Kraith representatives sat in stunned silence. Sarah found Stone after the ceremony. The colonel was in the medical bay having her hands treated. The skin on her knuckles was torn from hitting the Emperor's scales so many times. "That was incredible," Sarah said. "That was necessary." Stone winced as a medical technician bandaged her hands. The Emperor needed to lose completely. Not just the fight, his pride, his confidence, everything. Now the Kraith people know that their strongest warrior couldn't beat one human. They'll think twice before they break galactic law again. What happens now? Now comes the hard part. Stone stood up, testing her hands. "We need to put the Kraith Empire back together. We need to identify everyone who was responsible for attacking your medical ship and bring them to trial. We need to make sure this never happens again." Over the next 3 weeks, the war offenders worked with Kraith authorities to restore order. It was strange, Sarah thought, watching these dangerous humans help rebuild what they had broken. The trials began a month later. 53 Kraith officers were charged with war crimes. The evidence was overwhelming. Major Liu had recordings of every order, every communication, every decision that led to the attack on the Mercy's Hand. The trials were held on a neutral world, broadcast across the galaxy. Sarah attended every session. She needed to see justice done. The Kraith officers tried to defend themselves. They claimed they were following orders. They claimed they were trying to win a war. They claimed the humans were too effective at healing their enemies. The judges were not impressed. The law was clear. Medical personnel are always protected, always, no exceptions. 37 officers were found guilty. 15 were acquitted due to lack of evidence. 1 committed suicide before the verdict. The sentences were harsh. Life imprisonment in human custody, no parole, no appeals. Sarah thought they should have been executed. But Earth's law did not allow execution of prisoners. So they would live the rest of their lives in human prisons, remembering what they had done. The Kraith Empire was required to pay reparations to the families of every murdered medical worker. They were also required to allow permanent human observers in their military command structure. Any future military action would be overseen by Earth representatives. The Emperor himself was not charged. He had not given the direct order to attack the medical ship. But he resigned in shame, and a new government was formed. 6 weeks after the duel, Sarah stood on the observation deck of Earth's flagship preparing to return home. Colonel Stone stood beside her. "What will happen to you?" Sarah asked. "Will you go back into the ice?" Stone shook her head. "No. Earth's government has decided that the war offenders are too useful to freeze again. We're being retrained as a special operations force. We'll handle situations where conventional military can't or won't work. The galaxy won't like that. They're afraid of you." "Good." Stone smiled her cold smile. "Fear prevents war. No species will attack Earth's healers again." 3 months after the Kraith surrender, Sarah Chen stood before the Galactic Coalition Assembly. Representatives from all 47 member species filled the chamber. They all wanted answers. They all wanted to know what Earth planned to do with the war offenders. The Vex Collective representative spoke first. Her insectoid voice translated into common language. "Earth has violated coalition protocols. You deployed soldiers who were specifically banned under your membership agreement. You used psychological warfare, cyber attacks, and fear tactics that go against our principles of honorable combat. We demand that these war offenders be imprisoned immediately." Murmurs of agreement echoed through the chamber. Sarah had expected this. The galaxy had watched the war offenders operate. They had seen how effective and how terrifying humans could be when they stopped playing by the rules. Sarah activated her presentation. The main screen showed footage from the attack on the Mercy's Hand. The assembly had seen it before, but Sarah wanted them to remember. The Kraith Empire murdered 830 human medical personnel, Sarah said. These were healers. They were protected under laws that had been honored for 300 years. The Kraith broke those laws. They committed the greatest war crime in modern galactic history. She changed the image. Now it showed the aftermath of the War Offenders campaign. Earth responded with 500 soldiers. In 6 weeks, we broke the Kraith military completely. And do you know how many Kraith civilians died in our campaign? 0. How many Kraith cities did we destroy? 0. We fought a war and caused no collateral damage. Can any of your species claim the same? The Morthian representative, a being of pure energy in a containment suit, spoke up. You used fear as a weapon. You infiltrated their homes. You threatened their families. We offered to protect their families from the war, Sarah corrected. We never harmed a single non-combatant. Yes, we scared them. Yes, we made them afraid. But we didn't kill them. The Kraith showed our medical teams no mercy. We could have done the same to their civilians. We didn't. The Human Coalition ambassador, Marcus Webb, stood to join her. He was the same Dr. Webb who had shown Sarah the vault, now promoted to diplomatic service. This assembly must understand something, Webb said. Humans are not like other species. We have fought each other for thousands of years. We have developed ways of warfare that you cannot imagine. When we joined the coalition, we agreed to put those methods away. We agreed to fight like you fight. We agreed to honor like you honor. He paused, letting his words sink in. But the Kraith taught us that honor is a luxury. Honor only works when everyone agrees to it. The moment someone breaks the rules, honor becomes a liability. The Draxian representative, a large reptilian similar to the Kraith, stood angrily. So you will ignore coalition law whenever it suits you? No, Sarah said firmly. We will follow coalition law until someone else breaks it first. Then we will respond appropriately. The war offenders were not unleashed for conquest. They were unleashed for justice. There is a difference. And now? The Vex representative asked. What will you do with these war offenders? Will you freeze them again? Sarah and Webb exchanged glances. This was the moment they had been preparing for. No, Sarah said. The war offenders will not be frozen again. Instead, they will become the Coalition's Enforcement Division. The chamber erupted in shouts. Representatives jumped to their feet, arguing and yelling. It took several minutes for order to be restored. Explain, the Vex representative demanded. Webb pulled up a new presentation. For 300 years, the Coalition has maintained peace through mutual agreement. But that peace was always fragile. It depended on everyone following the same rules. The Kraith proved that system has a weakness. What happens when someone breaks the rules? What happens when war crimes are committed? The Coalition debates. The Coalition discusses. The Coalition forms committees. Meanwhile, people die. We propose a new system, Sarah continued. The war offenders will serve as a rapid response force. When war crimes are committed, when laws are broken, when innocents are threatened, they will deploy immediately. They will not wait for debates or votes. They will act. That is too much power for one species, the Draxian representative protested. Then join them, Webb said. The Enforcement Division will accept volunteers from any species. If you have soldiers who can operate at this level, send them. But understand what you're volunteering them for. These are not peacekeepers. These are not diplomats. These are warriors who will do whatever is necessary to stop war crimes and protect the innocent. The assembly fell silent. No species wanted to admit they had soldiers like the war offenders. No species wanted to admit they had created weapons like humans had. We will vote on this proposal in 1 week, the Vex representative said finally. This session is adjourned. Sarah and Webb left the chamber. Outside, Colonel Stone was waiting with several other war offenders. How did it go? Stone asked. They're afraid of us, Sarah said. They don't trust us. Good. They shouldn't. Stone started walking and the others followed. Fear and respect often look the same. As long as they don't try to lock us up again, I don't care if they like us. The vote could go either way, Webb said. No, it won't. Stone smiled. They'll agree to our proposal. Because every species in that chamber is thinking the same thing. What if we're the next target? What if someone attacks our healers, our civilians, our innocents? They want to know that someone will respond with overwhelming force. They want to know that war crimes will be punished immediately and completely. Stone was right. 1 week later, the Galactic Coalition voted. 32 species voted in favor of creating the Enforcement Division. 12 voted against. 3 abstained. The war offenders were officially recognized as the Coalition's response to war crimes and atrocities. They were given their own base, their own ships, and their own authority to act when needed. But there were conditions. The Enforcement Division would be overseen by a board of representatives from all Coalition species. They would report on every mission. They would be held accountable for their actions. Sarah was appointed as the liaison between the Enforcement Division and the Coalition. Her job was to make sure the war offenders didn't go too far, didn't become the very thing they were supposed to fight against. 6 months after the Kraith surrender, a new hospital ship launched from Earth. It was named Mercy's Hand 2 in honor of the ship that was destroyed. Sarah stood at the launch ceremony, watching the gleaming white vessel rise into orbit. Colonel Stone stood beside her. The colonel rarely attended ceremonies, but she had made an exception for this one. They're going to the Orion sector, Sarah said. There's a disease outbreak there. No war, just sick people who need help. Will you be on it? Stone asked. Sarah shook her head. Not this time. I'm needed here. Someone has to watch over you monsters. Stone laughed. It was a real laugh, not her usual cold amusement. We're not monsters, Admiral. We're just humans who never learned to stop fighting. Is there a difference? Maybe not. Stone watched the hospital ship disappear into the sky. But here's something to think about. That ship is going into space alone. No military escort. No weapons. Just healers and medicine. And it's safe. It's safe because every species in the galaxy knows what will happen if someone attacks it. They know about us now. They know that Earth doesn't just send healers. Earth also sends hunters. Sarah thought about that. It was a terrible peace built on fear rather than trust. But it was peace nonetheless. Do you think we did the right thing? She asked. Stone considered the question carefully. We did the necessary thing. Right and wrong are complicated. But necessary? That's simple. Those 830 medical workers deserve justice. The galaxy deserved to know that some laws cannot be broken without consequences. We provided both. A message came through on Sarah's communicator. She read it and sighed. The Thornian Combine just invaded the Pelion system. Reports of civilian massacres. How many? Stone asked, her voice suddenly sharp and focused. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Stone was already moving, pulling out her communicator and issuing orders. All war offenders report to base immediately. We have a new mission. Admiral Chen informed the coalition board. Tell them the enforcement division is deploying. Sarah made the calls as she followed Stone to the landing pad. Within 20 minutes, a black ship was ready to launch. 200 war offenders boarded silently and efficiently. Stone paused at the entrance and looked back at Sarah. This is what we are now, Admiral. The galaxy's monsters. We go into the dark places and do dark things so that the healers can work in the light. Someone has to be willing to do this job. Might as well be us. The ship launched, disappearing into faster-than-light travel. Sarah stood alone on the landing pad watching it go. She thought about the speech Stone had given, about monsters and hunters, about necessary evils and complicated morality. She thought about her crew on the Mercy's Hand, dead because someone had broken the oldest law. Maybe the galaxy needed monsters. Maybe peace required warriors who were willing to go places that others couldn't. Maybe the only way to protect healers was to unleash hunters. Sarah pulled out her communicator and made another call. This is Admiral Chen. I need a ship prepared.